Hello, this is Michael Mazurkovich. Today's drink is a cherry mead that I actually brewed myself. It was a lot of fun to brew. I personally love it. Not everybody does, that's fine. And I want to talk to you about your emotions. Now that probably comes off as a bit weird, so I will elucidate. See, my last 2 years have been spent growing myself in two specific career choices, acting and hosting. And both of those have really pushed me in my understanding of human emotions, and now I just find them fascinating. See, with hosting, what I do is I ask questions as I interview people, and I really listen to the responses so that I can catch all of the spots where there's an emotional response as well as information. And those places are the leads that you follow to find out what makes this person passionate. What are the cruxes of their argument? What are the parts that are exciting or horrifying? And that's what I like to do in interviewing is to try to unpack the emotional experience of this person and their information and bring that to the viewers. And when I'm hosting just by myself, like when I'm vlogging about my beekeeping, I try to do the same thing. I try to identify and be open about the parts that I find weird, exciting, challenging, different, the bits of information that I find just absolutely mind-blowing, and translate my emotional experience to the viewers. That's hosting. Now, with acting, the current school of thought on acting is that one does not pretend to be the character. One instead figures out what needs to be true to become that character as yourself, and then lives in those truths so that you are yourself, living. That also happens to be the character. That's probably cryptic, so I'll break it down a bit. If somebody gives me a script, I will go through my character's lines and actions and try to figure out what are the emotions, the desires, the wishes, the fears that are driving those thoughts and actions. And then I'll transpose that to my own life and experience and say, what would need to be true for myself in my own life for me to feel exactly those thoughts and emotions and fears and desires, to say and do exactly those things in exactly that same way and have it come from a real place of emotion. I figure out what would have to be true to make me feel that way. I live in those truths. I literally tell my brain to pretend that these are the things that are true, and then I live in those truths and I am able to be myself, a real human with my own personality, living in that scene. So I'm not playing a character, I am in that situation. And that's the current school of thought on acting. And what that means is that I spend a fair bit of, well, ideally most days, trying to understand human emotions, trying to understand why we feel the things that we feel, how it affects us, how it affects our judgment, our decisions, when we express it and when we don't. All of this beautiful tapestry of human emotion is what I kind of research on a daily basis in a way. Obviously, I have no formal degree, but I've been putting a lot of energy into discovering more about human emotions, and I love it. I find it to be fascinating. Now, I've also always had this thing, probably because I've always been drawn to human emotions, and that's what draws me to acting and hosting, but I've always really enjoyed people coming to me to ask me questions, tell me their emotional experiences, and ask me for advice, and I've really enjoyed trying to help them understand what it is they're feeling and thinking, and help them get to a place where they understand what they themselves want and can act to make their lives better. I mean, that's probably a pretty ballsy statement, but I do really love hearing about people's emotional experiences and going through those experiences with them. And that is why I would love it if you would use the online form below to send me your questions, or to send me an idea that you want to call in about so that I can talk to you live on my podcast, Let's Talk About Feels, which is going to be released in the next few weeks once we start the balls rolling. I'm also going to be Facebook Living them so that you can check in with me in real time. But especially what I need for this show is people to email me emotional situations or questions for me to go through, or people to call in and tell me about their feels. So would absolutely love to hear from you. It can be as anonymously as you would like. And I guess when it comes down to it, I just really want to talk about your feelings.